Hello everyone, I guess General Flair having a wonderful Monday, and we are back again with another Fanatics Weekly Review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auctioned off this week on their website. As always, if you enjoy these, do make sure to leave a like. Helps me, helps the channel, helps everyone. It's good, it's fun, and you know what else is good and fun? This auction block. We got number 200, which of course is a vintage special. Every 10 of them, they do a vintage special. Basically anything before 2002, you get an extra % of the sale. And so that pulls out a lot of goodies, and we certainly have a lot here. As you can tell, we start with, you got to have $1,000 plus to get into this weekly, so obviously a pretty big one. So let's get going before this draws out too long. Why don't we? Starting with the Maradona 1985 Calciatore high grade there. Pop one of two, none higher, gets $1,050. You have a Ronaldo 2005 next to it, Panini Sports Football in a 10 that goes for $1,080, along with a Red Flood Messi for $1,100 there. I did give a quick peek, and that is up a good bit. I think it was maybe like a $500 to $700 card, and now it's $1,100, so up a little bit there. These Merlins perform pretty well. We'll see a Messi here in a bit. I thought these did decent numbers, considering they're out of 15. It's Merlin. They're PSA 9s. There's a lot of... while they are good cards, there's, some things you could use against it to claim they aren't the best of the best, and I don't think anyone would say they are, but... nonetheless, they make it into this auction block here. Next to it, you have a Plus Ultra Luis Monti, along with Friends. I don't know who the other one is, truthfully. I didn't give too much of a peek of it before, but $1,200 there. We'll see a big-time Plus Ultra later in this auction block, but this one is just giving us a preview here. Red, white, and blue Power Plaid Messi goes for $1,200. I did take a peek at this, and I think this is up double, as you could assume with most Messi cards at this point in time. Topps Crystal Premium Lamine Yamal Auto here goes for $1,200 and a PSA 10. You have a Zico Ping Pong. Now, PSA 8, super strong grade for this. Pop one of one, none higher. Didn't know that, but probably could have presumed it because you never see these in this high of a grade. Typically, I'd say average grade's probably like a 3 maybe, so an 8's big time. In terms of pricing, it's not an all-time high sale in 2022. Along with 2021, there was a lot of excitement around pre-modern vintage, and people were maybe paying a little too much too quick, but ultimately this is the third highest sale here at $1,300, which seemingly is deserved. There was a PSA 8 as well in 2023. They actually only did $630, so compared to this one, it actually seems like that's up quite a bit. Granted, those are two different copies, but both in the same set. Kaboom, Jude Bellingham, as we'll see later in this auction block. Sometimes you need a pop one of one, none higher, and a grade to ever be seen to get into this auction block. Sometimes you just need Kaboom. You just need the shiny, and people put you up here. $1,290 there for Jude. Above it, a prospect in Endrick that apparently is on the move. Obviously, his time at Real Madrid hasn't been spectacular, and $1,300 there for that select still shows that there are people excited. Next to it, Declan Rice, one of one field level for $1,380 for the Arsenal fanboys out there. 2004 PSA 8 Messi for $1,380 as well, of course. Like all Messi, still up quite a bit, but not ultimately at the all-time high that we've seen lately. PSA 2 Crack Maradona. This is actually, like we've been saying lately, the Maradona market in terms of his early stuff and even later stuff. We just saw PSA 9 Calciatore that was in this auction block, but doing good numbers. $1,400 on this one. You probably could have got this for, $500 maybe, anywhere from like $400 to $700, probably a few months back, but he's been on the run lately. Select field level white Messi, PSA 10 from 2022, or a Merlin black Messi from 2020 next to it. Take your pick of the two. Interesting sort of dichotomy here. Of course, you have World Cup winning year, you have PSA 10, but you also have a black first year Merlin Chrome out of 15. I like the Merlins, really, even though I am sort of a field level guy, but the Merlin does a little something for me, and seemingly the Watchers as well with 20 more there. This Jose Innocente Garrincha is super low in terms of pricing. It's not a rookie, despite Fanatics' claim for it to be a rookie. He has a very well-renowned rookie in 1955, and then he even has earlier stuff in 54 and 53 that barely ever show up. So not a rookie at all, but PSA 1s typically do, $1,000 to $1,500. This PSA 4 does $1,500, so super, super strong deal there for whoever picked that up. It is sort of one of those things where when you have people paying $1,500 or $1,000 every single time a 1 comes up, if a 4 pops up, is it going to get that premium? And with stuff like this, you never really know. And, clearly in this example, it did not. I think this is the only 4 to ever sell, or the only thing higher than a 1 to ever sell publicly that I could find. An out of 10 patch of Messi next to it for $1,470. We have a Cristiano Ronaldo Gold Award Winners PSA 10 for nearly $1,500 here from 2017 Chrome. In terms of pricing, the last PSA 9 actually did near this, but it is up still. There was a pretty bad listing on eBay that did $550 in February. Along with that, back then you could see that raws were doing anywhere from like $300 to $400. So presumably the 10 back in February would have been, $500 to maybe $800 if it was listed better. Now $1,500, so that's up quite a bit there. Keeping it moving, a Beckenbauer PSA 8 goes for $1,500. This is about an all-time high. I think it actually has done $1,700 before in an 8, so it's down a little bit, but still a strong sale. A Vanderhoek Cruyff next to it, and a PSA 8 does $1,500. These have been bouncing anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000, so this is smack dab in the middle. An early Jaume Santos here. PSA 4, SGC 4 Americana here from 1951 does $1,500, which seemingly is pretty good. I mean, granted, it's a great grade for the era, certainly, but his rookies had done, from 1949, his rookies had done, I think, like $800 for a really beaten up copy, and then a better looking copy did like $2,000, so you could get, a true rookie in low grade, or you could get a third year in high grade, and seemingly here, people wanted to go after that high grade. And yeah, I mean, great player. I can't blame you to some extent, but just interesting to see that go for more than a rookie did recently. Granted, again, the rookie was really beat, so you have that side of the coin. 1962 Pele here. This is one you don't see all too often. This goes for $1,500. I looked it up. It was kind of hard to make sense of because it seems like there's a few different colors. So like which color is more rare and how does that factor in? I don't know. One of them also said type 2. So it's really something I have no clue in. I will say, though, it does look really good. Fun, unique design. Goes for $1,500 here, which in terms of what I was seeing, seemed like a strong sale compared to some of the others. But again, depending on the variation and this, that, and the other, maybe it makes more sense. But ultimately, I do think it's a fun-looking Pele and probably deserves a pretty decent price as well. Mazzola PS 8 next to it, super high grade Nanina for him. Pop 1 of 1, just one higher. This does $1,500. And this wasn't an all-time high sale, but I think it's like second or third. And since we've corrected from the 2022, 2023 highs or whatever, it's definitely sort of made its way back. I think there was an 8 recently that had probably sold closer to 1,000. I say an 8. I think it was the same exact date. I think it sold on Fanatics like 2 months ago for about 1,000, if memory serves me right. So this one is up a good bit on that sale. Next to it, this Heinerle Puskás I did have favorited. I thought it was fair price, if not maybe a little low. I mean, in my head, I sort of thought $1,500 seemed like the price, and ultimately that's what it got. With autographs, it's always a little iffy because, I mean, there's no way to fully know if an autograph's authentic. You can say it looks like it's authentic, and you can look at all the little things and make sure it looks good. But you do always have that little, bit of doubt that makes you say, I wonder if, someone just got really good at faking them. But if you assume that it's true and authentic and all that fun stuff, I do like it a lot. I think that this, to me, is the most iconic Puskás photo in my mind, like in terms of card. This is what I think of when you say a Puskás card. I know that Nanina's his rookie and he's got other more expensive cards, but like this card, eye appeal wise, is the card in my mind. And to have a nice looking autograph as well on it, I felt like deserved a premium. And I mean, it certainly got one. There was a 1.5 without an auto in this auction block that I think sold for like $100. And so, a cool 16x for the premium. But personally, I still think it was a nice pickup. I love the eye appeal for a 1.5 too. I mean, it's got obviously some corner damage and whatnot, but the colors are strong. The auto's strong. The image is strong. I like it. I like it a lot. Keeping it moving, Endrick above it, gold optic goes for $1,500, nearly $1,600. You have a Bergman Jared Muller PSA 7 for $1,650. In terms of pricing here, we can see that if you go backwards, there was a sale in April for $1,200, a sale in February for $2,100, another sale for $3,300, $1,800, and yeah, back in the day, it was a good bit higher. 3 and 4K back when the boom was booming in vintage, but we're getting back there slowly but surely. But this one, not wildly as much. 1600 here is a little bit of a bump, but nothing crazy. We'll look at the back, and I thought this back looked pretty good. Sadly, the state of these Bergmans, you have to look at all the backs in just immense detail and see if you can find anything that's off. Here, all the text looks black and dark and nice, and I mean, it's just a beautiful looking back. So in my mind, this is truly a PSA 7. We'll see a Beckenbauer later, where maybe that's not as much the case. There was a PSA 5 Beckenbauer that didn't make it into this auction block that we're reviewing here, but that one was beaten up, and it was a 5. The 8 later looks a little better, but still there's some questions. Next to it, a Finest Messi auto here for $16.80. You have this Cruyff postcard. I don't know if somehow this made it into last week's review or 2 weeks ago's review. I think it was last week, but I felt like I remember seeing one in last week's weekly, and then I went back and looked. I couldn't find it anywhere. I went in sales history, couldn't find it anywhere. So maybe this is the one from last week that I thought was finished. I don't know. In my head, I thought this had landed at $1,100, and I thought that was cheap, and I thought we reviewed it. But maybe this somehow just made it into last week. I don't know. Nonetheless, this goes for $1,700, which is more than I thought that it had gone for. But ultimately, when you look at sales history, these typically do like $2K. So price seemed fair. In my head, it was an interesting sort of debate. I was thinking about going after the Puskás or the Cruyff, and I was sort of, going back and forth on which one. The Cruyff is early. It is a postcard, and it sort of got a lot of other copies at the time that were signed. Apparently, it has his address on the back, so I think you're kind of just allowed to send it to him. I don't know. But basically, yeah, I mean, it's a postcard. It's a little more true to form, and there's probably a little bit more authenticity, safety with this Cruyff compared to the Puskás. But I think the Puskás just looks so good. So I was sort of debating that in my head, and I'd be interested what other people would want between those two. But anyways, next to it, we got a couple other greats of the game. The first being a PSA 8 Messi. These, of course, were $500 to $600, and now they're sitting at $1,700. The Threads Ronaldo from 2004 SP Authentic does $1,800 here. I didn't look it up just because, truthfully, I'm not wildly interested. I mean, it is a unique card. It is interesting. It is match worn, as they say. And $1,800 felt fair. I mean, I could see a world where people might want to go higher, but I could also see people just saying, it's a one-color patch, doesn't really do a whole lot. But nonetheless, $1,800 feels respectable. Keeping it moving, 2014 Red World Cup Captains Ronaldo goes for $1,800. A 1992-93 Panini Foot Zinedine Zidane does $1,800. This is pop 1 of 7 and higher. And in terms of past pricing, like last year, $690 and $360 in 2022. So, $1,800, a little bit of a bump. Granted, they're only selling 3 times in 3 years, so if you want to get one and that I have a grade, kind of have to go after it. It is a really nice looking sticker, I will give it that. It does feel kind of strong, but, when you bake in second year Zidane, nice looking sticker, 1 of 7 pop, none higher, all that fun stuff. I mean, I can see how you get there, but it does feel strong. We got an Andrade next to it from the 1932 Glorietta album. These all seem to perform relatively low compared to some of the other steals we had seen just a couple months ago, but these haven't sold a ton, so you don't really have a lot to go off of. I really need to sneeze. All right, I think it's gone. I don't know. It didn't work. But nonetheless, the Andrade seemed low like a lot of the other ones did. PSA 3 also seems like a pretty strong grade as well. But there are 3 or 4 of the stickers per player in this album, at least for some of the bigger players that I've seen. So I think that does play a factor as well. But still interesting to see them go. Beyond that, something you don't see all too often, this was the only sale that I could find in the sales catalog for the Series Dean from 1935, sort of a subset of pretty strong players for the time that you don't see all too much. This is out of Malta, so ultimately it's a very short print release, and that probably helps to explain why we've only ever seen one of these sell. $1,800 here. Ultimately, in terms of pricing and where it all stands, I don't really know, because I do need sales, especially on this type of stuff, to be able to make something of it. But it doesn't seem like it did crazy, at least for the player. We'll see a Dixie Dean rookie later that does a much bigger number. Granted, it's a rookie, but the rookie at least seemingly is more available. So how you want to stack all that, it's up to each individual with their own interpretation. But interesting to see nonetheless, and $1,860 is the price there. Next to a couple Ronaldos, you got a Ronaldo 2020 Impeccable. I was going to say immaculate, but it's impeccable. One of the other eyes. This out of 25 auto goes for $1,900, and a 2024 Color Blast goes for $2K. In this row, 2 Peles, a Cruyff, and some decent prices. I thought this Sicker Verlag PSA 5 to me seemed like a decent price. PSA 1s and 2s can be had for, $200, $400. Granted, PSA 5 is a much tougher grade, but $2,000, nearly $100 is a much higher price, so I think that factors in. Next to that, a Petrota 1962 Pele. This goes for $2,100, and this is a fun one, sort of a flag looking design. At the bottom, there is like a straight line where it should be coming to a point, so that does make some people wonder whether or not this 3 is true, and I definitely can see that. These typically have trouble grading in general. A lot of them are 1s, many are authentics, and in this situation, this probably should be a 1 or an authentic, but in terms of pricing, there have been, like 3 or 4 sales of PSA 1s, and those generally do $600, so a PSA 3 that might not really be a 3 doing $2,100 feels pretty good. Next to it, a Aquarela Pele. We see these all the time. About $1,000 per grade for some of the lower grades. That's what we've been saying for a while, and that holds true here. $2,100 here for a PSA 2. Above it, we have a 1980 PSA 6 Maradona Crack that does $2,100. Felt pretty strong. Granted, we just saw a second-year Zidane do a good number. This is, I guess, 4th-year Maradona, so a little later, but it's still Argentinian heritage and high grade as well, so I can sort of see that. 3 higher, which is relatively notable. Next to it, Benjamin Sesko, rookie out of 5, goes for $2,200. A Fritz Walter 1937, the year, I guess it has it on the slab there, 1937 to 39 is how PSA's categorizing that at the moment, so that works out. My understanding is that this is later in the set, so this is probably not 37, maybe a bit later. And when you look at it, this is a problem with a lot of these dirt kickers, is that so many of them have pretty clear signs of removal. We were talking about like the nice black text without a lot of stuff in it. I don't know how else to describe it, but like here in this U, you can kind of see it missing. This K is kind of missing. A lot of these letters have like parts of them missing. You can clearly see, when you zoom out, like the difference in color, and presumably someone's gluing down the corners and maybe in the middle as well. And so, it pretty clearly seems removed. It's graded as if it isn't, but ultimately PSA's just been so weird on that lately. I don't know if they have a lot of new people in soccer grading soccer that don't really know soccer. That would be my guess. Or maybe they're grading soccer on a different curve without really saying they are. I don't really know. But my understanding is that they are paying out on this type of stuff. Like, I think I've heard stories of people that have brought them a copy of something similar to this Fritz Walter and said, this is overgraded. Can I get, X amount of dollars out of it? And you can make this a 1 and we'll call it a day. And my understanding is it works. It seems like a really silly, and, a lot of people just limbaste PSA on their upcharges. But when you're paying out stuff like this, like, I can sort of understand it, especially in soccer where they've done such a terrible job with these backs, where if you are going to pay out on it, they're going to pay out on a large percentage of copies that exist, if that ultimately comes to be. So, I don't know how it plays out. I don't know if this one could be taken back. I don't know. It's all just a mess with some of these different, mostly German for some reason, but mostly German, vintage examples. But all to say, $2,500 there. If you assume the grade's legitimate, feels like a fair price, maybe a deal by a little smidge. But if you assume it's a PSA 1 that's graded as a 4, it's certainly strong. So depends how you want to look at that. And then top of, well, actually we got a little bit more to go. We got a Messi PSA 8 here for $2,600. This again was a $500 to $700 card all day. So, $2,600 is a nice bump over the last few months. We'll see where that settles. A TTT PSA 8 from 1965. Beckenbauer's in-action shot goes for $2,700. It's a pop 1 of 3, 1 higher. And then finally, I thought this Wayne Rooney was strong. Granted, I guess it is a PSA 10, which I didn't think about initially. But I've seen Messi's go for like 5 to 10K. And granted, that was pre this boom, this new boom, so maybe they don't anymore. I don't know, but I remember for a segment of time they were doing 5 to 10K, and mostly PSG kit, but there's some Argentina kit as well, and 2,800 there does feel good, but ultimately, Manchester United fans don't have a lot to be cheerful of nowadays. I mean, doing all right this year, but generally speaking, Wayne Rooney's probably the closest thing that they got to the glory days at this point. And above it, we have a PSA 9 Messi from 2004, number 89, that goes for 3K. We have a record Bernabé Ferreira here and a PSA 3 that goes for 3K as well. I did look up some sales on this, and sorry, these are the Pelés from earlier. I already sort of, walked you through that. But in terms of these sales, SGC2 recently did 1,200, so this PSA 3 is looking strong compared to that. Before that, a PSA 3 did 2,100. Before that, a 2.5 did 1,100. And so ultimately, this is looking like a pretty good sale. Now, it does have the NBA gold sticker for whatever that matters to you. So, make it that way you will. But it's pop one of 3, none higher, and gets a pretty good number. And then finally, Johan Cruyff Palarex 2.5 goes for 3K, which feels about right. If I had to guess, generally speaking, I feel like PSA 1s have been, a little more than 1,000. PSA 2s have probably been around 2,000, maybe a little bit higher. So 2.5 at 3. Feels about right. And that does it for page 1. On to page 2, or on to page, I don't know how you want to decipher it, but on to page 1. Well, here we go. So we start with a 2013 Topps Premier Gold Orange Cristiano Ronaldo. That's just hard to say. But out of 25 does 3,100. In a world where everyone likes everything numbered and autographed and this, that, and the other, I mean, it doesn't feel crazy to me. Granted, it is off sticker. It is technically like a throwback, because in 2013 he was on Real Madrid, so, but 145 watchers only getting 3,100 on a autograph low number Cristiano Ronaldo card. Doesn't seem bad. Next to it, we have a 58 Aquarella. This PSA 3 goes for 3,500, which again seems relatively fair. PSA 9 number 62 does 3,600. Above it, the Simplicity Don does 3,600. This is, just to me, it seems weird. I don't know. It's not like a great looking card. I mean, I guess it says it's red out of 10, so surely that plays a factor. But the auto just looks weird. It looks like a leaf printing plate almost. To each their own. 1971 Super Cracks Zico does 3,600. This is a rookie Zico, which, the one time they don't put rookie in the listing is a really cool rookie, huh? Really, really impressive stuff there. Anyways, pop one of one, just one higher. This is a hard one to find. I think maybe one a year sells, or one every 2 years. I mean, basically, and it's like, this is the same copy. There's only been 3 sales ever. 2 of them have been this one. And, in terms of pricing, it is down a little bit. I think the last ones did like 4 to 5K, so 3,600 here is down a smidge. PSA does not grade this, as my understanding is it's an unknown manufacturer, so that is, I guess, something that takes away from it a little bit, but it is, at least in terms of year and date and all that, it is a true Zico rookie. Next to it, Lamine Yamal Marks of Excellence in green goes for 3,800. I did take a peek, and that's seemingly the lowest sale since May, but not by a lot. There's been other sales that have been close, but this one was, at least as far as I could find, the lowest. Cristiano Ronaldo Mega Cracks PSA 3 for 3,800, which, I mean, we saw like what did we see? We saw the 1.5 71 bits do 5K. A really nice looking 1.5. I think that's important to note. I don't think, your random PSA 2s are comparable to that 1.5 in the sense that that 1.5 looked really, really good. But a PSA 3 for, Ronaldo, who only has 2 rookies for, $1,500 less or something, doesn't seem bad. It also, at least to me from here, seems like it has good eye appeal. The top right corner looks a little white, but doesn't seem bad. Next to it, PSA 4 Titularis goes for 4,300. This is up a little bit. Last PSA 4 sale was like 2,200. Now, it was a really off-center copy, and to be fair, this is a really off-center copy as well, but the last one was even more off-center than this, if that gives you any perspective. So, 4,300 here feels pretty strong, but, maybe that could be because the last copy was so off-center. I don't know. Anyways, next to it, 1959 OMB Pele in a 1 goes for 4,400. This does have an MK designation. There's like 2 little X's next to his head. And in terms of pricing, this one did pretty well. I don't remember the prices exactly, but in my head, I'm sort of feeling like a 50-75% increase, at least comparatively to other copies. If you assume the MK takes away a decent bit, it's not a one-to-one thing, and I think there's only like 5 or 6 comps of this card in general, but it did seem to perform pretty well. Above it, Endrick Gold Kaboom goes for 4,600, which, you know, in a row with cards as good as these, you know, just to be man, the premium we placed on just young guys and colorful cards, huh? Yeah, I mean, next to we got a Mark Van Basten, basically the most sought-after Panini sticker, I would say. I could be totally wrong in that. Clearly, there's some modern cards that people might, you know, or modern stickers people might be more after in general. But in terms of like people that really, really hunt Panini stickers, this MVB is a grail. 4,800 there. We barely ever see them go. I mean, you know, a couple a year probably. I say that last sale, at least for a PSA copy, was, you know, nearly 2 years ago. So maybe not. That did in a PSA 2 $1,000. Before that, PSA 1 did 500. Before that, a PSA 6 did 3,900. About, you know, a little over 2 years ago, about 2.5 years ago. And so, you know, I mean, for, you know, I guess 30% increase, 20, 25, 30% increase over the last couple of years. Not bad, but nothing crazy there. Pop 1 of 12, 7 higher, as you can tell. So even though it's been a chase for many years, it's still fairly low pop. Next to it, this 1938 Kamler's Sarosi does 4,900 in a CGC 1.5. This as well as out of Malta, and a big-time vintage player in a rare release. And in terms of pricing, I could only find one comp on eBay, and that was a comp a few years ago, I think, for 5,500, maybe 5K, somewhere in there. So it seemed to do around there, which, you know, truthfully doesn't seem like a massive premium. I mean, it certainly isn't over the last sale, considering there hasn't been another one to go in a couple of years. There was a sale on, I think it was Boardroom. I found this out in the Vintage Discord. It's always linked down below to the Vintage Discord. They have a ton of fun information in there to be able to learn and read up on. It goes even beyond vintage. There's pre-modern and modern as well. But there was a sale on Sale Room, which I think is like some UK auction site, and that did like 15K, but there was a lot of other stuff in it. So, you know, how much of that was the Sarosi, how much wasn't, I couldn't really tell you. But ultimately, it seemed like this was a little bit disappointing. But you know, along the lines of the prior sale. So, you know, make of it what you will. Above it, 1958 Pele Aquarella BGS 5.5 does 4,900. Seems, you know, fairly decent, depending on how you sort of adjust for BGS grading. Next to it, Marks of Excellence Gold does 5,400. I thought it was kind of surprising this doesn't do a bigger premium. Granted, the premium's sort of in the auto, but, you know, the green doing nearly 4K and the gold only doing 5.5 doesn't seem wildly above it. Next to it, a Jose Andrade 1924 Jeux Olympics. I don't know if I pronounced that first part right, but whatever. This is awesome. I mean, just awesome. Did talk about this last week in the preview. Basically, this had sold before. I think it might have been a Fanatics Buy It Now or something. It was a Buy It Now on some platform. Maybe it was eBay. And I think it did like 3,500 to 4K. I want to say closer to 4K, but I'm leaving a little room there. So this is up a good bit over the last sale. I don't know if it was the same copy or not, but it was the same grade. And this one does, you know, about $1,500 higher than that last sale. So that's up a little bit, which is nice. In terms of the set, really like it. It's got basically all the team it's got all the team photos from that 1924 Olympics, and then you have some of these sort of solo portrait sort of shots. You got this one. I know there's a Nasasi as well. There's also some other like in-action shots that go on as well throughout this. But ultimately, 5,500 there seems like a pretty strong sale and certainly a fun one to see go in this auction block. It is a postcard for what it's worth. That's why it's a little oversized, but, you know, Yeah, what are you going to do? 1920s beggars can't be choosers. Above it, Red Prism Messi from 2014 does 5,600. I look through sales and it's just, okay, well, I guess we got the Mark Van Basten ones here. I look through Messi sales. It's hard because there's so many different colors and there's so many inserts and whatever. This seemingly a year or two ago was probably like a $2,500 to $3,000 card, and now it's closer to, 5.5 to 6. So ultimately up about 100%, which is, pretty solid. George Best, rookie PSA 7, really strong grade on this. These do grade, at least in the past, they've graded high before, so it's not like an unimaginably high grade, but it is a high grade, and it is a sort of iconic vintage card as well. 5,600 here in terms of comps. There were sales recently as low as 3,900 in March and 3,300 last year in November, so up quite a bit from there. If you go back further, back during the vintage heyday, it was much higher at certain points in time. But if you go back to pre-boom, it actually was fairly big back then, 6 to 800 as well, prior to basically any of this modern soccer excitement. So, ultimately seems like it's up a good bit. Probably a fairly healthy track it seems to be on, which is nice in a world where, some things aren't so healthy and a lot of things are scary. Having something that looks fairly healthy like that is reassuring. PSA 9 Monday Chroma for 5,800. That's down a good bit compared to where it, had been at the highs. Granted, earlier this year, this was a $1,500 to $2,000 card, so $6,000 still is good compared to that, but ultimately not the all-time highs we saw recently. Nico Paz 1/1 goes for $6K. Again, the perks of being a rookie in these modern days and having numbered stuff that looks shiny. It does a lot for you. DD from 1952. This one got a really strong price. It's the highest DD sale ever. Truthfully, basically any early 50s Americana is going to be hard to find. I'm a little unsure why this one gets such a premium over this 1951 that was a year earlier. Also, truthfully, I don't know what DD's rookie is, and, that is a shame on me. I probably should be aware, but as well, this was on Golden in 2023, so Golden, 2023 was already kind of low times. Golden as well has never been good for selling vintage, so maybe that's why that got such a low price, but it is sort of interesting to see that here. This has his name spelled right. This one doesn't. Granted, DD's a pretty noticeable figure, so despite the missing name or having the name wrong, it sure does look like him. Just interesting to see that, but this is an all-time high sale for DD, and by quite a margin as well. Highest sales before this really was 1,800 on this Alifa, because this is like a Pele sign, sort of atrocity, so I don't think that really counts, at least in my head, but PSA 8 Alifa did 1,800, so that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Anywho, next to it, Neymar and Messi here, going for $6K. Above it, a couple more Messis here. PSA 9, number, I was going to say 62, but it's 35. Oopsie. This does 7,200. Along with that, you have the green chrome out of 99 that does 7,500. I took a peek at it, but I closed it, and ultimately it's up quite a lot. Just take my word for it. The early chromes are doing really good. There will be a gold one that we'll look up here in a second that also did really well from 2018. This is labeled as 2018. It's not 2018. PWCC at least adjusted that in their title, which is good on them, but PSA slabbed that wrong, so bad on them. Next to it, a Pele rookie auto, authentic card, PSA 10 autograph. And I thought this did a really strong number. I think there was a PSA 3 with a nice looking auto. I don't remember the auto grade, to be honest, but there was a PSA 3 with a nice looking auto that recently did, I think, around the same number, maybe even a little less. So to get an authentic card grade with an auto 10, now that I think about it, I think the auto on the PSA 3 was worse, but I think it still looked good. So ultimately, I don't know how you weigh that stuff, but basically all to say, I thought this was a pretty good sale. Above it, Dixie Dean from 1925. PSA 2 goes for 7,800. In the world of Dixie Dean rookies, this seemed about right. A PSA 3 did 11.5 recently. A 1 did 4K, so that's sort of smack dab in the middle there. And both those sales were recent, so easy to comp off of. In terms of past sales, there was a 1.5 that did 3,700 in the past. There was a 3 that did 4,900 in 2023. So compared to that, this seems like it's moved up quite a bit. A 3 seemingly bottomed at about 5K, and now a 2's going for, nearly 8. Not too shabby. Next to it, your choice of the Messis here, 2023 Black Sapphire out of 10 with an autograph, or a 2018 second year Chrome Gold PSA 10. Oh, it's a tough one. I mean, for me, as someone that just naturally despises throwback autographs, I'd probably just take the gold from 2018 and call it a day. But yeah, I could see taking the 2023 because I think it's a nice looking card and all that stuff. But in terms of pricing, 8.1K on the black, 9K on the gold. I did look up the gold, and in terms of where that has been, a PSA 10 in 2023 was doing 18 to 1900. So, up a little bit, a nice, 350% increase or something. Not too shabby. Yeah, kind of impressive, I will say, ultimately. Hey man, I like Chrome. I like that the people are having their fun on cards they like, but oh man, you got Dixie Dean rookie here in the same row, and people are going after second year Chrome Golds. Pele rookie auto here, but who am I to say? Ultimately, as we'll come to find in these rows above it, the people like their modern, and hey, I like modern to some extent too. But man, some of it's crazy. But we'll talk more about that as we go. BGS 7 here for 9,600 of the 71 bis, the one and only 71 bis. These are down a little bit from their peak pricing. A 7 at its peak was probably 13, 14K. And 10K now, so down a little bit, but ultimately probably necessary. Next to it, PSA 10 Prism Auto here at 9,900, along with a Landmarks at 9,900 from 2018 in a PSA 10. Looked at the Landmarks, and basically it seemingly bottomed at about 4 to 5K in 2023 and 2024. I guess way back in the day in 2018, it was a $100 card, $200 card, but as you sort of get towards the modern day, basically 2022 and beyond, it's been a 5K card at times, and now it's closer to 10, which is a little bit of a bump, but nothing crazy, truthfully. Kind of a respectable bump in the world of maybe bumps that aren't as respectable. Another Messi here, another BGS 7 here. Don't really need to talk too much about that. We just saw 2 examples. Kind of crazy to see that, and maybe this truthfully, probably got flashed in at the end, but this only has 31 watchers. When you go and look at this one, it has 82, so I'm guessing that would be why. But only seeing 31 watchers on that was kind of jarring. The 65 Bergman, so this one I was referencing earlier, with always having to look at the backs and, PSA not really doing great, consistent jobs on these. Look at the back here, and, you'll pretty easily sort of notice some stuff. This Beckenbauer here, you got sort of seemingly some paper loss on that C, maybe into the E, the K. The text doesn't look the best. And then down here, more of the same. It seems like there's sort of a streak right here through the dung, the glyptic, it's just nice streak sort of right to left through the middle. And, I don't know. Am I being too picky? Is that too much to care about? In the world where a little bit of off-centering takes you down to an 8, I mean, seemingly this gets an 8, and it's pretty off-center. I would assume that basically the person that graded this said, this is off-center, and that's why it gets an 8. And, I guess truthfully the corners a little, the corners don't look like 10 corners, or at least those bottom ones didn't. I mean, they look decent, but, personally in terms of the card, I think 8's probably favorable for the card just as is. And then once you add in the sort of text loss here on the back in these different locations, I mean, I think it's wildly overgraded, but again, in the world of modern grading on this type of stuff, it just feels like PSA doesn't care, certainly as much as they used to, maybe even at all. And so I just don't know where we sit. I wish there was some sort of transparency on, do they not care about this? Do they still care, but they just can never find it out, or they don't have people that are actually caring enough to look at the back and really take it into account? I don't know where we stand with that, and it's just sort of troublesome, but it's where we're at, so we'll figure it out as we go. And of course, always buy the card, not the grade. Now, I think grade matters to some extent, and I think if the card and grade match, then all the better. But I think card should be first and foremost. Beyond that, Neymar 1/1 Dynasty for 11K. In the world where R9 1/1s from this set do 130, post-playing career, is a Neymar 1 of 1 for 11 really that crazy? I don't know. This is a great example of how poor the blue-on-blue can be with a blue Sharpie and, well, nowhere to sign. It looks pretty atrocious, but still a really fun card, 11K there. Speaking of fun cards / stickers, PSA 10 Maldini, Pop 1 of 2. We've never seen one of these go in terms of sales in the past. I closed it, so but the highest sales, or at least the most recent sales on this, were like 1,000 to 1,500. So this is about a 10x for PSA 10. Real quick, since I did have it pulled up, we can go back and look at the Beckenbauer sale. The last sale was 1,800 or 18,000, excuse me, and presumably, I mean, this one's a nice looking copy, and I would assume the back's fine. But again, always look. There were some other sales recently at 8.7 and 8.4 that were lower, so it is up a little bit from the bottom. But if you see down there, of course, again, back during the vintage heyday where people were going crazy, it was a much higher price at one point in time. Seemingly trying to get back, up a little bit, but when you have copies like that don't look good at all, it sort of messes it all up, truthfully. BGS 8 for 13.2. Again, like the BGS 7s before it, a little bit lower than this. Could have been at different points in time, but that's just sort of the way it is at the moment. Keeping it moving. A number 89 PSA 10 for 13.2. A 1979 Diego Maradona Calcitorian, an 8.5 does 15K. Essentially, I was looking at comps, and I think a 9 last comped at 20, and a 8 last comped at 5. So this, with an 8.5 grade and an NBA gold sticker and the Fanatics eye appeal and all the little stickers you all put on it, seemingly did a much closer number to the 9. And it seems like in general, I mean, those 5 and 20K sales I was referencing are also bumps, and so this one seems to have bumped. And so it seems like this sticker and Maradona, again, early Maradona in general, seems to be doing really well at this moment. Speaking of, next to it, we have a PSA 477 crack that does 15K. I did look this one up, and this is sort of a bounce back as well from a 9K sale just a week ago. Now, granted, each copy is its own individual copy, and so you gotta, make sure you look through it. But at least for a while, it seemed like these were closer to 5 to 7K, and now you're getting them at about 15. Granted, again, it's got eye appeal sticker, all that fun stuff, NBA golds, all the stickers, but still a good number. Above it, Lamine Yamal in a PSA 910 grade red chrome from 2024 Euro does 15K. Next to it, we have a Nenina Puskás that does 15.6 in a PSA 5 out of the 1946 Nenina set. This is his rookie, and it's one that you'd probably see sell a couple times a year. But it's definitely a strange one in the sense that its floor seems to be about 10K for almost any grade, and then as you can see here, PSA 5 only did 15.6, so there wasn't that much of a premium over a floor copy for this one. But I think we did see a 7 maybe sell recently for like 60, 65 maybe, somewhere up there. So like, it's almost, it's like, you see this sometimes in vintage, but not on like these big of cards usually, but basically, the floor to get in is really high, and then to get a middling copy is not that much higher, but then to get to the really high end, it's a massive jump. And so definitely interesting to see. I thought it was a relative deal, personally. If I had, a nice 15K to throw at a Nenina Puskás, this certainly would have been the one. And ultimately, pretty iconic vintage item, to say the least. So not too bad to get that for the same price as a Lamine Yamal sticker auto. So there you go. Next to it, BGS 8.5 71 bits goes for 16.8K. This felt pretty low. At least during the peak pricing on 71 bits, this probably would have been like 20 to 20 and a half. And 16.8 there is not that great. So ultimately, again, some of the Messi is making a little bit of a retracement, but ultimately when most everything Messi high end goes up, 300 to 400 to 500%, some retracement is necessary and healthy, really. In this row, we have a 1961 Eusebio. This used to be labeled as a 62, and now it's labeled as 61, which would put it as a Eusebio rookie. It does 16.8K. And in terms of past pricing, this is the third highest sale ever for a 61 Eusebio. There were a couple other sort of tall boys that had done 26 and 21K over the last year or two. This gets a pretty big number. It had sold, I think in the past, maybe. Yeah, this one sold. It's an authentic but this sold for $450, and I'm pretty jealous of whoever got this. Granted, it's a beat to crap copy, like I get it, but man, whoever got that, it seems like that was a steal, truthfully. Beyond that, though, I mean, as you can tell, Eusebio has a few different rookies here, but I mean, back in these were even big in 2020, May of 2020. I mean, this was doing 1,800. I love the tall boys. They just look so good, and they exacerbate his spindliness, I guess. Anyways, keeping it moving. PSA 10 2004 Messi does 17.4, number 89 mega cracks. Along with that, we have a Guillermo Stabile SGC 1.5 plus ultra that does 19.8. My understanding is this was a really strong sale. This was sort of the star of the 1930 World Cup for Argentina, and just the World Cup in general, really. But you know, there are some other, at least to me, and again, I'm not some sort of expert on this, but I also, you know, sort of listen to what other people that are experts say. It seems like a strong sale compared to some of the other players in the set that have sold recently, but it is a very tough set to be able to get basically anything you want out of. We don't have many examples of copies selling lately, and so, you know, if you want something, you're going to have to stretch for it, and seemingly there was some stretching going on here, at least so it would seem to be. I guess just for example, some plus ultras here that have sold recently. You have a Luis Monti here that did 9.6, and yeah, Monti's a pretty big name as well, doing half the price there. And along with that, you had the Orsi that did 2,100 or 21,000 prior to that as well. So definitely towards the top of these sales that we can see for the set in general. And I don't know each player's respective market and sort of maybe if they have earlier stuff, but Monti, at least from what I've seen in the Vintage Discord, is a much more talked about name generally than Stabile. And then the top three for this week, you know, we have all these cool vintage cards, all this cool footballing heritage, and then it's like you just know you're gonna be slapped with the colorful, shining, modern stuff. And here it is. The vintage auction topped by a row of 3 Messis from 2018 and beyond. Man, just, you know, put you in your place. You had all that fun up until this point. Bam, right back to where you belong, pal. 2018 Optic Gold here goes for $25K. And in terms of past sales, I mean, it seems like a strong sale. There was a 9.5 that sold for $24K just a month ago. When you go back even further, you know, like a BGS 9.5 with an auto is doing 4.8K just in February. Granted, it's a sticker auto. It's not people's favorite, but, you know, whatever. Seems like a strong price for the Optic, to say the least. 25K there, not too bad. Next to it, Kaboom, Lionel Messi. You know, I did say last week I didn't want it to top the weekly. I don't know if a 1 of 1, the man insert sticker auto makes me feel much better, but the Kaboom didn't top the weekly, so there's that. In terms of this sale, just a ridiculous graph by all accounts. This was a $3,000 card in 2023, and now it's nearly a $30,000 card in 2025. Literally a sale ago, just in September, was $12K, and that felt crazy because in March of this year, I almost just dropped the F-bomb. Like, that's how it was. $5K in March, and now we're looking at 26. You know. And it is a Pop 37, like that to me, I know Kabooms are just such a big thing, but, and I guess this is the weird thing, I've always felt Kabooms were overrated. This whole time I felt Kabooms are overrated, now we're looking at this price. I mean, look at back here, like 2019, granted soccer small, you know, small fry at that point, but, you know, $60, $80 in 2019, you could have just got these for the price of buying a new video game, and I mean now it's $30K. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. A 42,000% rate of growth. I mean, my lord. Anyways, let's just look over the last 1 year to see some fun stuff too. It's not as fun when you can't see like the zoomed out angle, but still 411% is just ridiculous. And Pop 37, I mean, it's not. I mean, they're not easy. But in the world where everyone likes 101s and out of 5s, the Pop 37's kind of high. But, you know, it doesn't seem the Kaboom people care. Anyways, finalizing this auction with a Messi, the man, 1 of 1, Superfractor, sticker auto. To me, pretty atrocious. I'm not going to lie. I just think that sticker auto placement is horrid, you know? Like, the bar's always Leaf, and this feels like a pretty Leaf-like card. You know, this you take away that Topps Finest badge down there, and you put this out. It looks like a pretty Leaf card. That's all I'm saying. Pretty leafy of you. Pretty leafy of you. what was it, 35K? Yeah, 35K there. Just, I mean, it's 1/1, it's super factor, it's messy. Also a throwback sticker auto of an insert of a bad look at, like, and that's what tops the auction block, folks. So hopefully you enjoyed all these fun cards, and hopefully enjoyed where it all ended and what it all culminated to. Thought it was a grand old time. I always look forward to these vintage auctions, the vintage special every 10 auctions. It's just so fun, brings out a lot of good stuff, and seemingly gets pretty fair prices for both buyers and sellers. I mean, you know, on the lower end, I do think there's some stuff that sort of flies under the radar, but on the high end, this type of stuff, I think you're getting the eyeballs you need, and that's good. Anywho, let's go to next week, where we'll probably be disappointed, and nothing's going to disappoint me more than an obviously fake Ronaldo sticker from his rookie year. So here we are, you know, BGS 9 graded in 13 millions. If you don't know what to look for with Ronaldo stickers, just 13 million certain number, bad, very bad, very bad. Now there are good ones in that range. They're not all fake, but a majority of them are fake. So that's what you got to look out for. There's just a boatload of them graded in the 13 million cert range, and this is no other. They also look really washed out. The BGS slab generally makes things look washed, but this is super washed. So yeah, that's a fake. You know, go after that if you like fake stickers, but up to you. Next to it, a couple Messis. As you can tell, PSA 10, Eminence Auto here as well. Got a Revenants down below it. A color match, red 2014 Ronaldo's a fun one. More messy rookies, a lot of messy rookies. PSA 9 blue as well. Definitely a drop off. You know, we go from last week where everything's just massive, and now it's like, you know, back to the messy rookies you go. Back to the mines, pal. You just get endless messy rookies. Well, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, okay. There's a red, there's a gold. There's some sets people like. There's some flawless. There's some autos. You know, there's some stuff in between. Wow, that's depressing. All right, well, anyways, I'll see you for next week. Hopefully you're excited. I know I'm not as much after what we just saw this week. So hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, as always, make sure to leave a like. Anything you want to tell me, anything you thought so high, low, maybe something you snagged. Love to hear about down below in a comment. And if you want some more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.